Okay. Well, I guess let's start with a little bit of lead up backstory for those of you who haven't been following the saga of Nerefil and Sori up until this point. Let me explain you how we got to this place. So, just to give you some character backstory, uh, Nerefil is my wizard, or Neri, as you will hear me refer to her a bunch. She's my wizard for Neverwinter Nights RP. She is super smart, true neutral, and she likes learning about stuff she doesn't know about. Um, and That's pretty much all you really need. She's also a sun elf, which could be relevant, I guess, in some of the story. Um, and then there's Sori, Siobhan's character, little halfling rogue who is obsessed with shadows and with I don't know, like with darkness and seeing the things not seen in those places. She's a little weirdo, right? She's like a little bit of a little weirdo. I don't know how properly to describe Sori because she's still an enigma to me, even at this point. Like I hang out with Siobhan all the time, obviously, but I still don't know everything there is to know about Sori. Her motivations elude me sometimes, but here's how it all played out. So Nerefil got her hands on this ritual. It's a ritual. I don't really know if I have a screenshot of it. That would be really helpful, but I'm pretty sure I don't. Where do these go? Open this file location, please. Where are we? We're in downloads. Okay, hang on. Maybe I have a screenshot of it, which I think would be more effective than me just like telling you what it is. Yeah, here we go. So we found this. I found this ritual. Boom. That is what the ritual says. Oh, my Firefox closed all of a sudden. Hang on. My chat is otherwise unavailable. Okay. Let's just like test that, make sure it's working. Okay, seems to be good. So, I found this ritual on the ground. Like Neri found it basically on the ground, near the outskirts. And it says, of course, a ritual detailing a pentagram surrounded with necromantic runes. The purpose of the runes appears to be to focus negative energy within the circle, concentrating it on the individual whose blood has been spilt on the onyx stones placed at each point of the pentagram. Beneath the circle is the outline of a knife. The blade and hilt are covered in necromantic runes, and they appear to be intended to draw negative energy from the handle and out to the point, while drawing a soul from the point up and into the end of the hilt, where a ruby has been drawn. So it's a ritual for pulling someone's soul out of their body, basically, with the power of necromancy. I'm beginning to see where I may have gone wrong on this, but that's a side note. That's a side note. Yep, that's when I found it, comment. But so I came across this thing, and I was like, oh well, this is like I'm a little low level wizard. This is a great little piece of like, I can hook in some plot here. I can use this to like move some plot forward somewhere. And so I showed it to Sori, and her immediate reaction to it was like, this is spooky. Let's do it. I want you to pull my soul out. And of course there was a moment of like, and why would you want me to do that exactly? And I never really got a clear answer. other than that she wanted to like lift the veil of reality from herself so that she could see the real reality below it, the shadowy corner of your eye reality. And she's just too much positive energy in a soul, you know. So that makes sense. Like, okay, that's what you want to do. That's what you want me to do. I'm true neutral. I like doing stuff that I don't necessarily know or could learn from. And you're a willing volunteer. You're a willing subject to have their soul removed. So, you know, seems good to me anyway. So Neri went about trying to organize how we would like get all the stuff together for it. So there were a couple of things that we needed for the ritual. What we needed were 4 onyx stones. Or sorry, not 4, 5 onyx stones, a ruby, and a dagger. A not steel dagger. Like, it needed to be some other metal because like regular metal, you can't use regular like iron or steel for cool magical rituals. It's got to be like silver or, you know, something like that. Like was my thought. And Siobhan suggested adamantine because adamantine has magical absorbing qualities. And so we used adamantine and we got an adamantine dagger made. So mad because Connor's expertise helping us with that. So we had all of the stuff that we needed. There was some assembly required because I needed to put the magical runes onto the dagger, and we needed to get the ruby attached to the dagger, so on. But that all kind of just like came together when we got the DM's attention yesterday night, so it's fine. What basically happened was how do I put it like this? I was thinking about how we're gonna carve runes into an adamantine dagger because it's fucking adamantine, right? Like, how are you gonna put magical runes into adamantine? It's so unworkable. Like you can't chisel it. It's fucking adamantine, you know. So what we did was I used Sori's blood, and I painted the runes on in her blood to create like sympathy with her, you know, rather than having them like etched in. But that comes during the ritual. I'm getting ahead of myself. So we talk with our various faction friends. We talk with our nerds about like who's gonna be there, what's gonna be going on, that kind of thing. Siobhan, Sori invites 2 of her friends. I invite one of mine. And they're sort of there to stand in attendance of this ritual and not make trouble, but be there in case there is trouble, you know? At least that was why I brought my friend. The friend that I brought was Farah, by the way. Neri and Farah have a sort of love connection, quote unquote, in their weird, one is a semi-sociopathic, you know, hyper-intelligent wizard, and the other is a savage druid of Malar who likes hunting and stabbing things. So, you know, they get along okay. But so Farah was the person that I wanted to bring because I knew that no matter what happened, that she would have my best interest. She'd have my best interest at heart, and she would like protect Neri, you know, and look after her if something bad happened, right? Because who knows? It's hyper magical bullshit how can we possibly know what will go down? So, day of the ritual comes, and we get ready, get it prepared and such. Oh, I should have mentioned that Siobhan's friends, Sori's friends, quote unquote, in attendance were Victor and Uberalla. So Drow, spooky Drow lady, and I don't know how to describe Victor. Charming asshole. Seems like the appropriate way. But yeah, so that was who Sori brought to watch this whole proceeding. There's like 3 or 4 Victors. Victor Lark, okay. So the first thing we had to do, of course, was figure out where we were gonna do it. And this was something that came up a couple of times, like, where are we going to conduct this ritual? And of course, Sori's immediate answer is, what about the big old negative energy orb at the bottom of the western crypts? You know? There's this big orb of negative energy surrounded by shadows, and I want to do it there. And initially I was like, no, we shouldn't do it there. There's too many people come back and forth from that place. It's not a good idea. We shouldn't do that. And I came up with some alternate solutions, but eventually we worked it all back all the way around to we're gonna do it there. So we decided that we would set up this ritual that focuses negative energy in a place with like fucking ass tons of negative energy just like ambiently in the air. Here, let me show you a screenshot. This is the location. That orb, you can't see it in a still image, but that orb flickers. It flickers and pulsates weird light and stuff. You can see like Neri in the middle there, and Sori's off to the right, and then Farah off to the right even more towards the door. But so we came into this location, and we cleared out all the bad guys in the whole place beforehand, so that anybody who was dungeoning, would come in, see dead skeletons, and hopefully leave. I didn't really want like a dungeon interloper to be like, oh, we're just looking for shadows. Oh, found your magic ritual. You know, like was my worry with such a place. Side note, Farah and I got there first to clear the place out, and we went down into the crypts there, and Farah pulled everything in the whole place underneath, like on the second level of that place. She pulled everything in the whole place back to one spot, and then I fireballed on top of her while she was immune to magic. And holy shit, we made corpses. There were more corpses in that basement than I have seen in any place ever in the whole game together. Like, it was so many bodies. Like, I think we must have lagged the server ourselves doing it. It was already very laggy, but, you know, like, it was a massacre, which I was very impressed. Farah tanked everything, and I just worked out really good. It's all skeletal knights and archers and maddened corpses and what have you. It's pretty okay. So anyway, we went back to the, you know, we set up in the room, and we were basically waiting for the DM at that point. Now, we got a nerve-wracking message that was like, I've been trying to log on for the last 20 minutes and I haven't been able to, from the DM, like an hour before we were supposed to start. But eventually he got online, or they got online. I don't know their gender. They got online and we're getting ready to go and setting things up and stuff. And we were kind of just like doing an idle, you know, we're talking to each other about what's going to happen. I'm like studying the floor and mapping out where I'm going to put this pentagram and whatever else, while we wait for the DM to like give us some note of their presence so that we can like start in earnest. Which is cool. It's like that tense feeling, that tense lead up where you're just, you're kind of in a holding pattern, and you're waiting and you're waiting, and you're like, when is it gonna happen? They tried to they tried to reset the server just before our event was about to start, and Brimstone was like, nope, no resets until the event that I'm holding is done, please. So that was nice. That was nice of him to just be like, nope, gotta postpone this reset, guys. Sorry. So apologies to anybody who was playing on a very laggy server last night. That was our fault, I guess. So eventually the DM lets their presence be known by like saying something like the shadowy tendrils in the corners of the room, or like from the orb like snake out in weird winding waves, or something like that, like just like an atmospheric prompt to let us know they are now watching what is happening. So the absolute first thing that they had me do was they messaged me and said, as soon as you start drawing the pentagram, please give me a spellcraft check. I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. I got good spellcraft. I guess we'll see what constitutes good spellcraft. So Neri takes out an ink pot and like puts her fingers in it and starts drawing this pentagram and the runes on the outside of the pentagram that will focus the negative energy as the ritual describes. And I roll a spellcraft check, and I get a 38. 38 spellcraft. I had a plus 23, so I was hoping I would get high. 40s would have been nice, but 38 I'll take. Take 38. And the DM describes my pentagram drawing as the hand made by the hands of an expert, an expert sort of wizard or what have you. Like, it was very like, the description was very flowery in that I was some kind of doing it really well person, which is great. It's great. That's what you want to hear. You want to hear that the first initial step of the ritual that you're casting isn't gonna fucking blow up in your face. So that's good. Here's a picture of that. Yeah. So as I was drawing it, the DM just like spawned this pentagram on the ground underneath me while I was writing it. So that's what we got there. Sorry, I'm gonna pause and deal with moderation stuff, but it looks like Comet already handled it. So that was like the first step. Draw the pentagram. Is it blood? No, it's in ink. And then I had Sori pour some, well, I guess bleed some of her blood into a crystal decanter that I had, because I need her blood for the next part, which is the onyx stones on each corner. So on each corner of the pentagram, I needed to place an onyx stone, and it needed to have Sori's blood on it, so that the negative energy would like focus into Sori. So I went around. I had her decant some of her blood into a crystal decanter. She had to make a dexterity check to see if like she dripped it or anything, and she succeeded. She expertly succeeded in not dripping any blood onto like the border of the pentagram or anything, which is nice because we don't want anything muddled up, any runes muddled up or anything like that. So here's that screenshot. This is when I was preparing the dagger, right after I had spilled Sori's blood on each of the onyx stones that we placed on the corners. So you can see there's like a little gem on each corner, a little splash of blood. I don't know which way I need to lean. Hi. A little gem on each corner, a little splash of blood, and I am currently working on using the blood in the decanter and my quill pen like in this picture, to draw the necromantic runes required on the adamantine dagger. Is what that picture is. So here's the adamantine dagger. And its description. So there's a ritualistic adamantine dagger. Found only in meteorites, blah, blah, blah. That's regular adamantine stuff. The second paragraph is, this particular adamantine dagger was unique. Forged by an artisan smith, profane runes of nefarious arcane purpose riddled the blade's metallurgical surface. It was ebon black, dark as the pitch of a void. In stark contrast was the vermilion, multifaceted ruby gem secured in the hilt. Those who gazed upon the blade felt the weight of its etchings, a somber, melancholic shroud pressing upon their spirits subtly. That's cool, right? That's pretty fucking rad. That's like a DM description of an item that I made, you know? It's so good. Right underneath that, I didn't get a screenshot of it, but right underneath that paragraph, there's an out-of-game portion. There's an out-of-game portion that says, DM item, made by DM Brimstone. Do not use without DM supervision. Basically, like, it's like a, if somebody gets this and they're not supposed to, you should probably know that this is very dangerous. But so that's cool. The dagger, they took the adamantine dagger and the ruby from my inventory and they gave me that. Basically. So there's like a item lost adamantine dagger, item lost ruby, item gained ritualistic adamantine dagger. And I had it. So the next part of the ritual, now that the dagger was created, 20, thank you for the 16 months. Now the dagger was created, was to draw out Sori's soul. And so I stood up, and Sori stood up from where we were in the pentagram, and I said, this is the point of no return. Like, once I do this, there's no backing out anymore. And we like both sort of agreed. The room kept getting darker, by the way. Like, the DM kept emoting that like shadows were creeping in under the floor. And like through the cracks in the door and stuff like that. Look at this. Look how dark it got compared with like earlier. And that everything was like, as the dagger was like raised and placed, there was this like icy cold chill across the room. All that kind of stuff. Like, it's like this really great description of the weight of the magic we were about to perform, which is pretty cool. Sori also said some nice words. Yeah, I don't know if you want me to talk about that or not, because I know you specifically don't like that part of your character, quote unquote. Crobosor, thank you for gift subbing Narf. Welcome to the sub team, Narf. But yeah, Sori. Do you want me to talk about that, Shimon? Confirmation, yes or no, and then I will do so. You don't mind? So while this was happening, Sori was basically praying, but she was praying to Lolth. She was going like, what did she say? Something like, I'll remove this part of me, and examine you, examine it, and it will be stronger when it returns to me, or something like filtered through your darkness. Kind of stuff. She was praying to the Queen of Spiders to get her attention. So that was great. And I was like, do I keep going? And then I basically said like, yeah, we're gonna keep going. Like, we're too deep in this. So I pressed the dagger to Sori's chest. And a bunch of stuff happened. There was like particle effects. There was like an explosion particle effect. There was like a banishment particle effect as like this box formed around Sori, and then we were teleported. Sori and I we hit a loading screen and we were somewhere else. We were in darkness, the abyss, the nowhere, the nothing. My screen looked like this. Not that you need an image of blackness, but this is what my screen looked like. Without the game HUD, obviously. It was just black. Just deep, deep darkness. And nothing else. And the DM described... Sori disappeared shortly after that, and the DM described what was happening to me with words like this. Cold envelops Narafiel's body abruptly in the explosion, then nothingness. She floated helplessly through the void. Nothing but the abyss around her, slowly tumbling form. So I'm just like slowly falling through darkness. And I call out. And I call out for help. I call out for anybody to hear me. Her words echoed inside her head, growing louder and louder until they were an ear-piercing scream. And I clutched my ears, and I tried to shield myself from the what do you call it? The sound. And then they silenced abruptly, and she was once more utterly alone. Just by myself in the darkness. And I didn't know what to do. And I sat here in the darkness for like, it felt like 30 minutes. Like, I didn't get any, I yelled into the dark and nothing. I was not getting the DM attention currently. There is other stuff happening. And I was just sitting in the dark. But meanwhile, Sori, over on the other computer, because I could just go over and look at what Siobhan was doing, which is, it made sitting in the darkness less boring. But I went to go look at what Siobhan was doing, and she was in a prison. A red, gem-like construction. She was just alone inside of the ruby in the dagger. So the spell worked, like, basically. I think our bodies were like dead on the outside. I don't really know what happened on the outside at this point, like directly. I talked with the people that were with us, but so I succeeded in magic jarring Sori's soul into the ruby, because she was trapped in a gem, and the DM was doing things to her like when somebody was like moving the dagger, or like like stuff's happening on the outside, she'd get prompts like she sees like giant sort of like faces or sort of like the ground shifting underneath her, or that kind of stuff. So clearly the people on the outside were trying to figure out the fuck to do, given what had just happened. So that was fun. She at one point got some shadows spawned on her, I think, and she failed her fear check, so she was just like running around this gem, like screaming and clawing at the walls and just like in a really bad place. And the DM, I think, described to her, I don't have the screenshots from her side, but described to her that like time began to feel like it didn't matter, like she could have been here for an eternity already, and it would feel the same. Like there was no way to know how long she'd been there or what was like happening, and that she was slowly like losing her breath. She was like torporing almost. Like getting slowly like worn down by the intense, timeless paranoia of this like strange red prison. Which is fucking awesome. It's like great descriptions, guys. Good shit, well done. And so that was happening to her. In the meantime, I was in the blackness, the dark nowhere. And eventually, I got a prompt that said, that eventually your body just gives up and you die. And so I do. And I find myself in the near ethereal plane. The place you want to be if you're dead. You're not totally gated off from the entire game place. See, that's me in the near ethereal, my ghost. I'm free from the darkness. And I got a message from the DM that said, like, don't go and do any respawning yet, just patience until we put you back, basically. And I went, okay, cool. And I just sat tight. It's fine. I just sat tight. And I waited. And I waited. And eventually, Siobhan's character also died. Like, they expired through suffocation in this gem, and then their spirit was sent to the near ethereal. And we were both respawned in the room where the ritual had taken place. We were ghosts, obviously. We weren't alive, but we're both there. And something has happened. People are like the other people are like leaving. I don't see our bodies or anything, so I assume they probably have them. So I go and I follow them. And okay, where were we? And so we end up outside in a little clearing, where Uvarala, our drow friend on the little left up there, is gonna try and resurrect Sori's body with cleric magic. She does manage this. Unfortunately, Sori comes back as a zombie. This is a very small screenshot, I'm sorry. She comes back as a zombie and fights Farah and Victor. So her body is like, just animates on its own and fights the other two. They end up being able to put her down, but it clearly affects Victor. Like, it clearly affects the poor boy. So yeah, they put her down. They put her down, and we're both spirits again. It's my spirit on the bottom left there. Sorry, spirit on the top right. It's not a competition, nerds. You all have weird, terrible shit. I'm just telling you about mine. So we get taken to the church, where we get resurrected, basically. And the cleric at the church, the NPC cleric at the church, resurrects us, and we're both okay. We're both fine. I mean, we're weak. We're mentally affected, and all that kind of stuff, but we're okay. And I ask what happens, or what happened to Farah. Like, the first thing I ask about when I wake up is like the dagger, and she says it's broken. It's broken, and it had to be broken. Like, basically the gem was smashed to pieces to free Sori's spirit. And like the fucking academic sociopath that she is, the first thing that Nerefiel thinks is, well, if you just waited, I might have come back and she'd be in the gem and I could have finished it all. But you didn't. Like, she's just, like, upset that it didn't work, basically. Well, that it did work, but that it didn't work all the way. And there was some talk about why it didn't work. And the first theory that Nerefiel had was that maybe the ritual was made by someone who could withstand the amount of negative energy they would have to focus to pull a soul out of somebody's body. Like, the ritual was written by a lich or a devil or something, or somebody who's, like, resistant to that kind of stuff. And that was never explained. And so when she had to channel the negative energy into the blade to pull Sori's soul from her body, she was also like obliterated by the power she was channeling. Because of course she's a living creature, so negative energy will fuck her shit up. So that was my theory. Anyway, so the dagger was broken, and I had a talk with Farah about that stuff, and like how it went and how it went wrong, and how I didn't know what I did wrong, or why it went that way, but that I was happy that it worked. Like, we heard that Sori was trapped in the gem. That means I did exactly, like, it worked, in theory. Oh, I'd like to point out, a side note, that the only thing left of my entire body when they went to pick it up was charred, ashed, like, dusted remains and my hand holding the dagger. Just, like, on the ground in the circle. That is how fucking destroyed I was. It was like impossibly destroyed, like, corpse. But they did manage to resurrect me, which is nice. But I actually have my own hand in my inventory now, because there's an object that's like a hand, like a corpse hand. And they showed it to me, and now I have it. Now I have it on me. So that's good. The DM also said, like, the stuff that you experienced in the darkness, you as a logical person, like, dismiss it as the trauma inflicted upon your mind by the physical destruction of your body, and that it's like no more impactful to you than like a bad dream might be. Like, it's just trauma from the physical is what you would, like, interpret it as, like, your mind responding to the intense amount of, like, furious pain that you must have been in for that 1 millisecond before you were obliterated. Which is cool, you know, because essentially this was an event about Sori, and she was much more affected by the ritual. And there was a moment where she began to panic, and she began to sort of, like, freak out a little bit. And then she went absolutely quiet. And still and unresponsive. And the best part about this little part of the story is, and then we saw her PC replaced by an NPC that looked exactly like her. So she was off having a mental episode somewhere, and there's just an NPC version of her character, like, in our little group, just unresponsive, just catatonic, thinking about stuff. And she was having, some kind of, mental episode. And I went to look at what she was up to, because obviously, like, I want to see what the cool DM stuff going on is. And she was in a place called, like, Beyond Dread or something like that. Like, the place beyond fear or something. Like, and it was like a big spooky forest of, like, darkness and shadowy trees and stuff. You're knee deep in dread. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, knee deep in dread. So she was in this place knee deep in dread. Kay, thank you for the 27 months. And there were all kinds of, like, shadowy creatures in this dark forest, and I think she followed, like, this shadowy spider. I wasn't really following this part because I was doing a debrief with, like, the other people while this was going on. But what I do know is that she met her shadow in this place. She met a reflection of herself in darkness. And that they had a nice little conversation. And that she was okay after that. She came back to us and wasn't catatonic anymore. And we went down into the drain to like debrief basically because we didn't want to hang around. You know, we got Uberalla with us. We got, you know, Sori, who doesn't like the inn. And so we went to the drain and we debriefed on what the fuck happened. It turns out Uberalla smashed the ruby. It also turns out that when we were destroyed, like when me and Sori were killed, shadows spawned in the room in the darkness and like attacked the other three. And then Farah held them off while the other two like buffed up enough to help, is what she told me. Like that they almost died, all three of them, to the shadows that were in that place. So you know, things got out of hand. I am of the opinion that maybe it was the location that fucked up the ritual. Too much negative energy. Too much power in the space. You know, but that's just Neri's theory. Neri's theory is either the ritual was made for someone who could handle that much negative energy and not die, like a lich or a vampire. Or we did it in a place that was fucking teeming with negative energy, and of course it overloaded the fucking ritual. It's like one or the other. It's my theory. But I don't think we'll be performing it again. I think Sori got what Sori wanted out of it. And I learned nothing, really. I mean, I learned that I can soul jar someone. Maybe. I learned that my spellcraft was correct and that I did everything in the way that it should have been and that everything was drawn correctly and it wasn't necessarily my mistake. I learned that in response to your entire fucking body being dust obliterated, that you experience traumatic falling in darkness. And I'm sure with some more talks with Sori, I will learn more about shadows and where she went during that time. We just didn't really have time to go into it too deeply. It was already like 2 a.m. by the time we were starting to debrief, so we didn't want to stay up too late, and everybody in our group was kind of like, well, gotta work tomorrow, gotta leave, gotta go to bed, kind of stuff. Got a bunch of XP for it. My alignment shifted 10 points towards evil. I'm still true neutral. And I had to make a dark powers check. A dark powers check is when you do something heinously evil, when you do something really, really nasty, you have to make a check to see if the dark power, that is the demi-plane of dread, notices you. If something happens, right, to you physically or mentally, right? There's like an actual check associated with being evil in an evil place. Hang on, I have some screenshots maybe of that. Yeah, so there's my alignment shifting towards evil. And then at the very end when Brimstone was like getting ready to go, they said, can you give me a D100 roll, which means it's a dark powers check. And this was the result of that check. I rolled a 64, which I think means I beat the check, probably. Which is that she simply couldn't shake the intrusive thought that she was being watched. It niggled at the recesses of her mind, then promptly dissipates, dismissed by more logical and rational thoughts and explanation. So what that means is there is maybe something watching me, and I have just dismissed it as a stupid idea, or that nothing is watching me, and that I was just paranoid, and that everything's fine. So I don't really know. We'll see. Siobhan also had to make a dark powers check. I don't know what happened with hers. So. I know she rolled lower than me. Is getting attention a good thing or a bad thing? it can be both. A dark power is a curse, basically. Um, it can improve certain aspects of your character and reduce others. Basically, if you fail a check, I don't think the first check. I think maybe you have to do another one before things can really start happening to you. But if you fail a check, you're like your character could be changed in some way. That could be your stats. That could be role playing prompts. That could be whatever. It's like it's bad. It's bad, right? Like it's gonna be bad. Yeah, it's 6 checks, Rainer. 6 checks, and they're forcibly retired as a Dark Lord of their own tiny little demi-plane of dread. When I say tiny little, I mean like rock in the middle of the ocean. Tiny. Yeah, it's 6 checks. 5 checks is, I think, when you become, like, considered an NPC. I believe is the categorization, but I'm not entirely sure. The thing about dark powers checks on the server and in general is that they are purposely obfuscated because it is it's like a DM mechanic, and they want people to not game the system, and they want the dark powers to remain interesting, So the less people know about it, the better, really. I don't know, this whole Dark Ritual storyline was set up just to fail. I know that you spent a lot of time and energy working on this. I mean, the thing is that the goal of the ritual was to bring Sori closer to the darkness, right? Like, that was her goal. Like, I was a secondary, Nerefiel is a secondary character in this. My benefit was that I got to do this fucking spooky ritual that I wasn't sure would go whatever way it went. The goal of the scene was to bring Sori closer to the shadow, closer to the darkness or whatever like lurks in those places, so that she can see clearly the lift the veil of the light and see clearly the true dark beneath it. And I think in that regard, the scene was perfect because it was through Sori's trauma that she had this vision of, this place, this forest that she believes is the true way that the forest looks. This place in the knee deep in dread. And she talked with her own like shadowy reflection. And she, I don't know, had some kind of revelation there, maybe. I don't really know. But she pushed towards potentially getting her, like, prestige class stuff and getting Shadow Dancer. She didn't get there fully, but DM Brimstone also said that there were going to be follow-ups and that they were gonna poke us, like, later about that. But that, like, for now, the scene was over. I think. So I actually think on a meta level it was a success. On a base level, certainly it was an academic failure. Nerefiel exploded into dust. But it also pushes her in a direction where it's like, okay, why did it fail? Okay, what can I do so that it doesn't fail? Okay, what precautions can I take in the future with other such, horrible necromancies to protect myself from that failure? All that kind of stuff is great. And, the idea of channeling negative energy through your body pushes me in a certain direction, certainly, but I don't think that's necessarily where I want to bring Nerefiel's expertise. I don't think she's going to go, like, Pale Master or anything with this, but it still sparks interesting roleplay, right? Pass or fail, it was still dramatic and interesting. And also, I'm not really sure how I would have played it if it had succeeded and Sori was dead. So you know, it kind of gives me a little bit of an out that I'm not holding a dagger containing Sori's soul. I feel like that would be like, there's a difference between irredeemably evil and messing around with dark powers that you don't necessarily understand. And I think if I had succeeded, it would be sort of irredeemably evil. Whereas failure is just messing around with dark powers you don't understand. Did the Shadow Dragon Essence come into play? Unfortunately, no. We didn't even get to that part. We still have the Shadow Dragon Essence. I guess you could use your hand as the focus of your phylactery to become a lich, or as part of a staff that casts Innervation. Yeah, I've got a corpse hand of my own body. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty cool corpse hand. I'm gonna strip it down to the bones, and I'm gonna wear a necklace of knuckle bones around my neck, my own knuckle bones. Evil magic, kids. Not even once. Yeah. Don't do evil magic. But yeah, so that's what we were up to. That's what we did. That's what we did.